What is up, my nerd familia, and welcome to Games y Más, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of board games, video games, and a little bit of pop culture. I'm your host, Vic, and I would like to be the first to welcome you here to our little corner of nerdom. Whether you are a diehard anime fan, a manga reader, a film buff, to a casual, intermediate, cozy board gamer, to an aspiring esports star in the video game world, or to everything in between, this podcast is for you. We would love to engage with you guys, share some stories within the nerd familia, so come join us. If anything that we've said resonates with you, hey, join our wacky adventures here at Games y Más. We would love to have you here. So, with all that being said, pull up a chair, grab some dice, y acompáñame a jugar. We are back. We're back with another episode here at Games y Más. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. So this is your first time joining us here. Welcome to Games y Más podcast. Like we said in the intro, the pre-recorded intro that we have here, podcast dedicated to all things board games, video games, and pop culture here. So if it's your first time joining us, welcome. And if you're a returning member, returning nerd familia, part of the familia, welcome back here. Thank you so much for joining us here. Very excited here. We have John joining us here. Thank you so much, John, for coming on the podcast here to talk about your board game that I'm very curious to hear about, very interested. Checked out your Instagram, checked out your stuff, and very curious to know, dive deep more into it, and very curious and to know the origins and everything like that. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for joining us here. Very excited to have you on here. Now, before
Thank
we
you.
get it, of course, and before we get into the meat of the podcast, we have our icebreaker questions that we like to ask our first time guests, kind of like a pre-get to know you before we get to the get to know you here. And so I'm very curious to hear your answers here. Two-part question. Again, feel free if any of these questions you're not able to answer or anything like that, we can move on from that first. And the first question is, what is your favorite board game of all time? Again, as a board gamer, I know it could be a tough one to answer for sure. So what I like to give our guest is a three-part. I'll give you a top three. If there's any top three that you want to list out, and I'm including anything board game, anything dice games, card games, heavy Euros, Ameritrash games, anything you want to include in there, I'll let you go with that for the top three. And then I'll give you the part two question here so you can kind of think about that as well. And that is, what is your favorite video game of all time? If there's a game that you like to play, again, top three if you can narrow it down. And then I'm also including not just console. I know it's a loaded question. These are loaded questions, but I like to know, get to know what that one's.
No, this is you learn the best about someone when you answer these two questions, I think.
Exactly right. Yeah, I know what we're getting into that for sure. Exactly.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not only limiting it to like consoles or like PC gaming. I'm even including arcade. Is there an arcade game that you like playing? Going to or checking out, or as a kid, growing up, you like playing a certain arcade game? Again, I'm including all that top three. Those are the two questions that we like to ask, the icebreaker questions here. John, the floor is yours. Please let us know if there's anything you can't answer or anything like that. But I'm very curious to know your answer. And so, take it away, John, with these two icebreaker questions.
Well, thank you again for having me on. I really appreciate this. This is a lot of fun. You're actually my second podcast as a board game designer, and so I'm really excited to be a part of this. And so thank you again for having me.
Yeah, of course.
So I was born in '84, so I literally have seen all games, I guess, generally speaking. I mean, really this is one of the hardest questions, but it's something I've thought about many times because I'm a father. My son is a very big gamer now. And so,
Nice.
games, and I have a 4-year-old daughter as well. So, games in my family have been it's just a big thing right
I love it. Yeah.
as the kids are coming up. So, and he's learning the basics too. So as I'm seeing him go through the games, especially old games and Nintendo games and such, and he's learning those things for the first time. It's amazing what kids can do. But to be honest, so I'll see the first part of the question. Favorite board game? This may be a little easier. I don't know if easier or harder.
Right.
I think I have a little less in tune with the board game world as I have video games. So I think when I say my favorite board game, I think I can be a little more concrete with this.
Okay.
But I'm a very big fan of Castle Panic, and I thought I thought that game was. I mean, like so Castle Panic. To this day, I don't think I've actually beaten it. I think I
Oh, really?
just my son and I keep playing it, and we're like the goblins keep getting us. So,
Mm-hmm.
but my first Castle Panic, I thought was actually outstanding, and
Okay.
I think that kind of structure where it was like not simpler, but I mean it's definitely a simpler game because it's more linear than entire circular board. But that game was just like was so much fun to play with my kid growing up, like
Right.
that, and kind of like him entering into this world of like a fantasy world building type of like where you're trying to defend something or
Mm-hmm.
and I thought the game was a lot of fun. I mean, apart from
Okay.
all this, obviously the classics. But I was a very big Magic the Gathering fan
Yeah.
growing up. So I played. I mean, I played Magic. I started playing Magic in 1994. So
Okay.
I look at some of my cards now. I'm like, wow, I got a lot of old cards.
Oh man.
So
Yeah.
I look through them. I'm like, wow, I gotta maybe take a little closer look at these. But
Yeah.
I was real big growing up in Magic the Gathering, and
Okay.
it's I think like as you get older, sometimes the world separates at times. So
Right.
like
Right.
I know I actually happened to be living next to a neighbor that was some an actual like national champion or something like that.
Oh, really?
So I'm like I got to get back into it. I know friend
Yeah.
I have friends now.
Yeah.
So
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
but yeah, the game culture has been big in my life. So that's which is actually
Okay.
kind of like why this is all started because
Right.
you know it's you start doing one thing and all of a sudden you realize well, how can I expand this and then all of a sudden you realize oh games are the best
Right.
way
Mm-hmm.
to really
Of
to
course.
grow.
Definitely. Yeah. No. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for.
hope that was,
Yeah. Yeah.
hope
No.
that was hope I couldn't elaborate a little more. I mean, oh,
No.
my friend,
No.
favorite video game. Oh, I didn't even get to that.
Yeah.
That's that. Well, we could have an entire podcast about that too.
Yes.
But I mean, like I'm a very big. I think. I mean, if I was going to put them and stack them, I think. I mean, Ocarina of Time up there.
Legend of Zelda.
Um,
Yes.
Castlevania Symphony of the Night. That's probably one of my favorite all time Metrovanias
Okay.
and like style games. But that game was like just so fun. It's like all the different things like that game you had like so many different types of swords. And I think I liked that aspect about things where like you had there's so many different types of weapons or shields and they actually
Mm-hmm.
did different things. And there's
Yeah.
a lot of games where you just have like a couple of power ups, whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
For sure.
but definitely up there. Like
Okay.
those two are big tops. I go back to those every once every few months actually. I try to play those again.
Okay. So Castlevania and Ocarina of Time. Perfect. Castlevania was, I don't know. Like I tried playing the like the SNES versions and the old ones, and like the Game
Those
Boy
ones are
Color.
hard.
They're
Yeah, I can't get
hard,
into
man.
yeah, I can't get into those ones. I think primarily because it's like the controls, like the up button going up the stairs
Yes.
instead of like the right button.
Yeah.
All of a sudden,
Yeah. Yeah.
there were little things. I mean, like I
Yeah.
always wanted to love that game, and I think it wasn't until Symphony of the Night where all of a sudden
Hmm.
the mechanics just changed, and
Yeah.
there
It
was
got
a
a little
lot
bit better.
more. So I was like, oh, this made. But also, I mean, like Resident Evil. I I remember when that came out, and I was just like that scared, like
Yeah.
the scared me so bad as a kid.
Yeah.
Doing like sleepovers, and then wouldn't want to go down to the kitchen to get your snacks.
Yes.
But
Oh man, no, I completely relate with you with that one. Yeah, that's definitely Resident Evil is one that has a special place in my heart. Definitely, I love. Yeah, for me it was Silent Hill. Silent Hill playing that one like
oh,
scared the bejesus out of me. I would just like, oh my goodness, like I don't want to go. I was playing at night. I was just like, oh my god, like it was just it freaked me
I
out so much.
I think to this day, the only I think one of the only games I've screamed out loud while playing it,
Yes,
and I
yes,
like just like
big
ah!
time. Yeah,
You don't even like think about it. It's just
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that,
you just
that,
like no, and even like screaming like you said would scare like my cousins, and we'd be like, "Well, just screaming that." Yeah, it was fun memories, but man, those games, those reinvented horror in the gaming industry for sure. And like, man, I completely agree with you, 100%. Great choices though, John. Thank you so much for sharing the icebreaker ones. Castle Panic, yeah, definitely a hard, horde mode game. Fun board game. Or so I've been told. I haven't gotten a chance to play it. I've seen it at Barnes and Noble. I've seen it in a bunch of other places. Always wanted to snag me a copy. I will eventually one day, but yeah, definitely that. And then Magic the Gathering, man. Oh man, NTG the Gathering, such a fun TCG for sure. It's evolved so much over the years for sure. I'm pretty sure your cards are going
oh,
worth a lot of money right now, man. Like you gotta hang on to those things.
I'll take a look. I got a lot of Ice Age, so I'm like, I don't know
Oh,
why.
okay.
I don't know what it was back then. I was just like Ice Age like crazy. So I have a
Okay.
huge Ice Age collection. But I definitely got to take a look through them.
Yeah, no, I have a big box myself full of just bunch of card games. Not as old, but they're pretty up there. They're I gotta go through the whole deck and stuff. But I love playing. I love playing Magic the Gathering. It's fun. I have a funny story about that one. Is that I when I first got into it, my friends were like, "Oh, we'll buy you a deck. It's fine. Okay, I'll play." And I was like, "Bro, imagine if I beat you like my first round, like my first game time." He's like, "Bro," and he's like, "I'm so confident that you won't beat me that I have." And he pulled out like this like Ajani Planeswalker card. He's like, "I have my most rare prize position Ajani Planeswalker card." He's like, "If you beat me, I will give you this card." I'm like, "All right, bet, let's go." I didn't know
Famous
anything
last
about it.
words.
Yes, famous last words. I
Yeah.
ended up winning that card. To this day, I still have that card. I built a deck around that card. And he's like, I'm a man
Frame
of my
it.
word. Yeah. So I was like, cool. And I played, and I think I was playing with the red green deck. I played with a red green deck, and he was playing with I think
Classic.
black light deck. I think he was playing with that deck, but I ended up beating him, and I don't know to this day how I did it, but I did, and I was like, cool. So I don't let
Set you on the
him.
path.
Yes, exactly. And I
Yeah.
was like, it started my obsession with Magic the Gathering. I was like, oh, okay. Interesting. I am very curious here. So yeah, Magic the Gathering always holds a special place in my heart. I always go back to it. Have a bunch, as you can see in my back wall, more TCG games, but Magic the Gathering has a special place for sure. And yeah, Ocarina of Time, Castlevania, great selections. Ocarina of Time. I've had a lot of guests that have said that as their favorite board game, favorite video game, and I
It's
mean
hard not to say it, but I mean, like, I
it's
feel weird.
hard.
I almost feel bad saying it 'cause it's like, of course, but it's
Yeah,
like
no. You
that.
gotta say, you gotta say it.
It's right there.
It's a true gaming classic for sure. It holds memories. I mean, if you don't, if I would even question you if you don't even say Ocarina of Time is one of your top threes because it's like it holds such a like a memorable. It revolutionized the Legend of Zelda series for sure, big time. Like everything, obviously
Oh
we had
yeah, the
Link's
story. I mean, like
Awakening. Oh
it's
yeah.
like it's got the one of the deepest stories. It's so
Oh
beautiful. Like
yes.
when I mean, like, despite it being like 64 the low polygon, if you get
Still.
beyond that, like the story is actually like
Oh yeah.
it's movingly sad, really, when
Oh
you think about
it
it.
is. It really is. And like
Incredibly, but beautiful.
yeah, no, 100%. I agree with you. And like just even like to me, it's like one of my favorite like open world ish kind of games. Because like, Legends of Zelda has that linearity, but like the big open world, traveling around through Hyrule Kingdom, and riding your horse, and like
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it was so beautiful. I still love it today. Even yeah, like I said, even the low polygon, the graphics, it's still the storyline. Like it just gets you, it moves you. And it was kind of scary too, to be honest. Especially when you use the Ocarina of Time to go forward in time, and you're in the Hyrule, and like everyone's like zombies or whatever. I was just like, this is creepy. Like, this is not a
Yeah,
kids game right here.
yeah.
This is like you hear
Yeah,
the screaming.
where you learn the Sun Song and like those little those zombies that make you freeze
Oh
down
yeah,
and
yeah,
and like the first time that happens, like my heart just starts racing, like, oh
yeah,
my god, what
yeah,
is it? Like, so
yep,
yeah,
yep.
yeah, totally.
Seriously, I'm like, this is not this is not a family friendly level here. This is not good. Like, let me get in and out, and let me just go do what I gotta do. And go back to when I was a kid, when everything was all happy and everyone was all dancing in the town square and stuff like that. It was
Yeah.
fun stuff. But John, thank you so much for sharing those icebreaker questions there. I don't know if you shared these questions on your socials or on the previous podcast, but if you haven't, guys, you've heard it here first from John, his favorite board games and his favorite video games here. So if you guys can relate, leave a comment below. Let us know what are your favorite board games and your favorite video games to play. Did you enjoy playing Castlevania and Ocarina of Time? Let us know. So thank you so much, John, for sharing that. So that we got the pre get to know you out of the way. Now let's get to the get to know you here. John, you've created a board game here called. Correct me if I get the name right, but it's Draughtnauts. It's called Draughtnauts or
Draughtnauts.
Draughtnauts. Okay, Draughtnauts. So called Draughtnauts. Very curious to hear about that. Before we get into the creation of your game, I'd like to get to know how you got into just the creating the game. Like for instance, like what inspired you to create a board game in the first place? And what inspired you to want to create this game here? And then from there we'll get into more of the game here. But yeah, let us know why get into the board gaming industry, you say, or board gaming creation industry in the first place. I'm very curious to hear about your origins right there for sure.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm a digital art. I'm a video editor as my career, and I've spent my entire life at working in motion picture television and also in in fine arts. So I've always been sort of in the art world,
Right.
and I've been a huge like nerddom fan, the games and comics and movies and everything like. So I've just always I've always wanted to create things like that.
Right.
And I come from like a toy background, so I was a really big toy collector as a kid. Spawn figures, Marvel, like everything, GI Joes, and I had like all of these a ton of action figures, and I was always dreamed of really making my own toys.
Right.
And the idea of like play and being able to build things like that.
Okay.
In so I was making actually doing custom pops at one point,
Oh.
and so I was kind of like in that world, and I was doing I was I was doing something. I wanted to do something physical like that and get away from like video editing and like the digital realm.
Okay.
So 2015 rolls around, and I just happened to find a kit 3D printer. This is a very, very like beginnings of 3D printing, 2015 and such. And so I got this wooden 3D printer, and I built the whole thing, like the gears and everything, and it barely worked. It didn't really work at all. But it was actually able to make these little tiny robots that I called pixel bots at the time, but it just spurred it on to me. I'm like, oh, here we are. I can make my own toys now. And
Nice.
so, long story short, one kit printer became one real printer, became six printers, became now I'm printing a whole bunch of these little robots. And I'm like, what am I doing with this? And they're really,
Right.
really cool.
Right.
So I'm like, well, what about a game? How about like maybe I'll turn this into a game? But like Warhammer and those kind of stuff was like that's such a big thing to think about. And this
Yeah.
is something where I'm like, this is not my world, and I'm like, I just really wanted to play. I just wanted to make these and show them and be like, what, like, check this out. And so
Right.
like checkers is a really sort of it's been around for 5,000 years.
Yeah.
It doesn't really have any sort of customization to it. It's just these, circle pieces. So I'm like,
Right.
well, what if I replace the circle pieces with these little robots? And so there we go. And I started making, checkers is 12 versus 12. So here I am as one person in a basement studio making 12 pieces. And I didn't know 3D printing. I built this thing from scratch. So
Oh
I had to
wow.
teach myself G code and I teach myself the whole thing. And then but I didn't know 3D printing design, so I couldn't print with supports at the time. It was still very 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 basic 3D printing
Okay.
abilities, and so I had to print them in pieces. So each draft knot was 8 pieces that had to get assembled times 12. Is was ridiculous, but
Yeah.
I was able to get it play tested. I went to a couple places, and the response was really fun. And the pieces had armor and crowns, and they did different things, and it was really vast. So that was 2019. I was really getting ready to go, and I was actually working with a factory in China to get a mass production going, and I was
Right.
going to get a Kickstarter going, and I was really right there. And then 2020, everybody
COVID.
knows what
Yep.
happened there.
Yep. Oh
So
man.
not being a businessman or anything like this, just sort of like, okay, I just can't do this right now. This is not worth it. So
Yeah.
backburn. I mean, it got to that point, backburn the whole thing. So now jump to 2025, a year ago. 3D printers are much easier. The technology has gotten so much better,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
even in the past year, it's gotten incredible. So, but I was just like, well, let me just try this again. I got one printer, and the one printer, and I redesigned the pieces, and one printer became two printers became, oh my god, I'm making the board game again. And
Yep.
but I started off as the I was like, well, the board game was really complex, so let me just keep going with the prints and let me just offer these up as sort of like designer toys or something to that effect. But then it was my son who actually brought the boards back out and started playing with the pieces, and it just sort of dawned on me again. You're like, what? If we simplify this, I think we do have a stronger game. The playtesting
Oh.
already sort of revealed that, and
Yeah.
he kicked it back in gear. And now the boards are no longer cardboard boards that I had to make myself. They're actually neoprene mats that are produced with
Oh.
my print on demand partners. And the I print the exclusive sets at home, my studio. Everything is independently designed by myself. I have no gatekeepers. I've got no publishers. So it's me just doing the whole thing.
Don't think. Yeah.
But I have a print on demand partner and with printy.com. They help me do some of the the two player set games, the mass production sort of sets. but
Okay.
it's been incredible, the journey, because it's like, it starts off as some little tiny thing, but over the years it's just like, oh no, you know what, you can do this. You
Yeah.
don't need, essentially, and maybe what I'm trying to demonstrate in all of this is that you don't need those gatekeepers anymore. You can sort of get something out and start building a community that way.
Yeah. Oh man, John, I love that. That is what an amazing story. That is awesome. Yes, definitely. Like, I love the fact that it's like, hey, you had an idea and you're gonna go for it, and you did it. Yes, you had that setback in 2020 for sure. I think everyone that was a game designer had a big setback, especially in that time. But you kept moving forward. And you kept going. I'm looking at your website right now, and I mean, I'm very curious. I'm a big chess guy. I love playing chess, and I love playing checkers too. Checkers, I started. I mean, checkers like one of like the first board games like I ever started playing. Like that my dad taught me, and I was
Exactly. Yeah.
a kid going like, oh yeah, yeah, and then chess, and then moved on and evolved. But what caught my eye was your little pieces that you had. Like, they looked like a little they almost look like mechs, kind of like mechs, and like they're like customized and stuff, which is very interested in reading through. Um, I love that story. I love that story. How you're chugging along. You're not doing. You're not. It's all you. It's all you. You're doing it through. You're producing it. You're creating it. You're going through, and you're trying to get out there. And I love that. I love that. It's very great. I'm curious about your website here. It's called Lazart Studios
Mhm.
LLC. What's if you don't mind sharing the origin behind that name, Laz Art Studios.
So my name is John Lazration.
Okay.
So Lazar Studios sort of play on my name, where because everybody gets my name spells my name wrong. It's like Lazaration,
Yeah.
Laceration. So like, I'm
Yeah.
like, well, Lazaration. If you just switch the A and the R, you got Lazart. And I've, as a self-proclaimed artist, it seems to say, it was like, oh, it's actually in my name, so we'll just call
Okay.
it we'll just call it Laz Art Studios,
Okay.
and keep it nice and simple.
I love your website. Your website's cool. It's really cool. It's like very space
Oh, thank you.
themed, retro. It's like I'm like the colors pop. I'm like this is cool. I'd like to get to know for those that are listening that've never even heard of Draft Nuts or anything like that. If you want to give us maybe like your elevator pitch or something like that, or just synopsis of what
Yeah,
is Draft Nuts, and then we can dive deeper into that. So yeah, take it away. What is this game that you've
sure.
created called Draft
So,
Nuts for sure?
Draughtnauts is a collectible, expandable tabletop game in the style of checkers, set in a sci-fi universe. And it plays. The mechanics are traditionally checkers. Essentially, you could just play checkers with Draughtnauts. There's no other additional rules. But
Okay.
Draughtnauts itself has additional mechanics. So the way you play is it's sort of a mix of checkers and chess. So the movements is checkers, but now you have the addition of a champion piece. And the champion is what you're trying to capture. So you want to jump the champion piece to remove it, and that's how you win the game. The champion piece then becomes customizable. It becomes part of how you want to design your base. And there's the two-player set comes with 10 colors you could choose from as base colors, but obviously it goes crazy from there, because I produce these expansion sets that are four pieces. The game is played 4-on-4. You have four players,
Oh.
four draft knots versus four draft knots on the board.
Okay.
So an expansion set would be four pieces, and you can customize your champion however you want: crowns, armor pieces, and so really make it your own. Customize the way the colors to make the base, but also some of the bases have backstories, and I'm building this really big epic story between the bases and the back history of the galaxy, and it's
Oh, that's
blowing up.
so
But
cool.
it ties in with the game in sense so that so this is so the draft does actually have a reason for why they're playing, and so you would have that reason to play in that world. But it goes beyond that. So like just like in Warhammer, obviously you buy them gray blank pieces, and
Yep.
your
Yep.
creativity is there as welcome into the space where you could paint. You have your own ideas, paint your own draft, not break. And all the pieces are interchangeable. So it's not just there's four warrior classes, and each one of those warrior classes has a separate thing, but then you can mix and match and stylize the game to your aesthetic. And as that grows, then it becomes, well, that maybe the pieces have their own actual mechanics. So the sword does a certain thing, a shield does a certain thing on the game board, and that's where the community building is what I'm trying to do sort of next. Is like the shop has been up for a year. I've been essentially in business for a year as a board game designer. So this whole year has been sort of getting it all together again as a solopreneur trying to do all of those things
Mm.
is like just me trying to be like, all right, you know what, we're just going to do it as we do it, and that's part of the beauty of having no additional overlords kind
Yeah,
of guiding
yeah,
me through it. It's just
yeah.
sort of like this is my idea. I'm going to do it, and
Hmm.
the response has been phenomenal. So I may be getting away from the actual reasons for the game so far, but
Hmm.
the desire to create a community based game where it's not just the best version of checkers.
Yeah.
It's something where you can bring your idea to the table. Maybe a canon change of the histories or lore, or maybe it's an actual rule, a mechanic. I am not a genius. I don't know anything really. So I'm here to be like what are your ideas about this game? What is your idea for this base? What colors do you like? And the response has been phenomenal over the past year. So, which has really kind of kicked me into more gear where I'm just like, well, I just want to keep doing this. I want to keep making new designs, and so it starts off something simple like that. It's checkers, but from there you
Expands.
add yeah, it's infinite.
Interesting. Yeah, that's amazing. That's awesome. Yeah, I was gonna ask you a question, but then you answered it right away. It was like, can your little draft nuts like if is there a room for like yeah, if you give them a sword, they're gonna give like a +1 to this, or they'll get this and that, or like I think it's a great idea. Like it's like an awesome twist on checkers where like you have your champions. And you can beef them up, you can get them stronger now, but now your opponent has to think about that. Now how do they counteract with that? How do they do that? So very strategic. I love it. For those that are listening that know me, I love strategy. I'm a big strategy man. So I love thinking. That's why I love chess. I love thinking about strategy. I think that was great. Thank you so much for sharing about that. Has when you created Draft Nuts, was I guess the sci-fi theme, was that always the number one choice you wanted to go to, or did you just bounce around ideas of like, oh, we can go fantasy, we can go sci-fi, we can go western, we can go zombies, whatever? Was sci-fi like the number one thing that you wanted to do, or did you kind of bounce around ideas when you started creating this game? I'm curious to hear about that.
So it starts off really mostly as a sci-fi thing, and actually in the very very early stages there was no world. It was just different teams, and there was just names for them based on their colors. But as I've as I've developed it over the past year now, it's like, well, actually there's a deep rich story here, and sci-fi seemed to work very well for that. Um, and in terms of how, at least the way that they're printed and like these little like mech things worked in that sort of universe. But I'm entertaining ideas in the future of not being mech draft knots, but now I mean it really expands to anything really, like your favorite sports teams, and maybe it's like a little like hockey goalie, or like
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
it's so the really it could be you know any anything that can be kind of printed on there. I mean, a lot of the weaponry kind of crosses the realm of fantasy and sci-fi. It was like swords, obviously, like who's or like um, and axes and things like that, and for sci-fi. But um, just because I'd like to move, especially in checkers, because they're not shooting things at each other in the game. So
yeah,
it's sort of fun to think that they're like hopping over each other and slicing something
yeah,
down on each other, or
yeah,
like
yeah,
a giant hammer and like
yep.
smashing. So the sci-fi world definitely I think caters to the draft not medium this specifically, but certainly fantasy and is one of those things that I think ties in the lore and the ability of what these things could be too.
And you said that it essentially is, if you get down to strip it down to the basics, it's a checkers game pretty much. So you can just play it as a checkers game. But if you want to add the draft not expansion or draft not variability, it adds different strategic to that. Did you ever come across whenever you're creating the extra additional like rules or extra like things that these draft nuts can do? Um, how hard was the process to come up with like something like this champion can do this A B and C? How did you ever come across things where it's like, okay, well, I can't have him do that because it's going to break the game or it's going to destroy the whole concept of checker stuff like that? Did you have to do multiple loops or iterations, or did you kind of felt like it came kind of natural, or is that where, like you said, the community came in and said, hey, you can do this and this and this? How was that process whenever you're trying to expand it from just it being checkers and then into being more of an expanded kind of universe there for sure?
Yeah, so in 2018 when I first got the game going and getting it rolling, and was doing my playtesting in 2018 and 2019, The common the common notion, like, I guess the complaint, but it was sort of the common thread was like, maybe it was a little too complex, and so like
Okay.
some of these things we're doing a little. So the part, checkers is moving one piece at a time diagonally, and then you jump diagonally. It's very, very simple mechanics. And again, the draft knots is something where you could literally just replace those circle pieces with the draft knots, and you got that. Odds are you even have your own checkers or chess board, so it's like, you don't need to buy the boards from me. You have that. But draft knots, the boards, all of a sudden, that's where it becomes where the more storytelling ends. The boards are more like landscapes that they're battling on. But
Right.
when so the mechanics then became, when I was originally designing it in 2018 and 19, was that the sword would let you jump two spaces at once. The shield would let you be jumped and stay on the board. So like there were like different things like that. And the more it came down to it is like, well, it is really complex. And it was like, well, how do you get these power ups? Like, where are they? That's something that you had to think about in the beginning of the game, was placing them on the other side of the board, and then you got there. And so there was a lot where after the playtesting, I was like, yeah, maybe this is a little complex, and maybe because going straight from checkers, which has nothing, to all of
Yeah.
a sudden all these other power ups was
Yeah.
maybe was biting off a bit too much. It made sense, but it
Mhm.
was, the more you played it, the more you started being like, oh well, okay, maybe that doesn't work. It was working
Mhm.
for a long time, but maybe we found it. We found the one time it didn't work, and it was enough to be like, maybe we should look at it again. But when I was re-looking at the game, and part of the reason why I didn't jump right into it was that, for that notion, was like, well, I still love the armament, and I love the sort of like that customization, and bringing and keeping that there, for at least the aesthetics. And
Right.
so, at the start of this anyway, they're principally aesthetic, but they are based on the idea that they did do things on the
Mm.
board originally. But pulling that back, and at least let's see how this goes first with more simpler mechanics,
Right.
aesthetics,
Right.
that you want to play this because you want your champion to be the winner, and
Yeah.
you want to stylize the game to that basics.
Of course, yeah, no, definitely, yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes it's like you have that vision, and then you start adding things, and then it gets too complex. People start complaining how complexity it is. I know I've talked to a couple of other game designers as well, and they've said that their biggest fear is that when you show a game and they go, "This is too complicated, I don't get it," and it's like a big like, "Oh, okay, how do I bring it down?" It kind of hits a little
Yeah.
bit. So I can understand, I can relate for that for sure. I would say I've played a couple of newer self developed games where I'm like, oh, this is a little complex, so I don't understand it. But again, it's sometimes it's needed feedback so you can kind of know when
Oh yeah.
how to structure your game for sure much better.
Oh, yeah, I think it's the best thing is to actually. I mean, like, you shouldn't go into those critique situations expecting just like, oh, this is the best game I've ever played.
Yeah,
It's like, in a way, I almost want people to be like, like I love it. I know it's great. So like,
yeah,
I want to hear you say what's bad about it, and so I
yeah.
like,
So you can
so that
change
I
it
can,
up.
like, yeah, so you can figure things out. I mean, like, obviously, I don't. No one wants to hear it. No one wants to hear a jerk, say something bad
Yeah,
about their stuff. But I mean,
right.
obviously, everybody. I mean, um, criticism is the only way to grow. Really, is to
Oh
hear
yeah,
how something is difficult, or how something is challenging, or what someone doesn't like about it, and
yeah.
then you move on.
I agree. Yeah, some of the best games out there are because probably of the critique that they got, and they were able to on their earlier drafts, change it up because of the critique and said, "Hey, what was the main complaint about this? Okay, how do we morph it? Play it again. Okay, more critiques. Okay, how's this?" And you're like, it's like pottery. Yeah, like you said, like you're morphing it, you're changing it to make it into the perfect game, the perfect shape game, or a game that's where the vision is there, and now everyone's enjoying your game, and you're having this game that everyone enjoys for sure. And I love that. I love that you're scaling it back, but you're also slowly implementing. You're creating, and you're creating a game that's immersive. First of all, you're making checkers immersive, which like I never thought that would ever happen because checkers is checkers. Like yeah, whatever. You're moving the circles, but
For
you're
5,000 years, no
yeah,
one's changed it, and
no
so it's
one's
just like, what is this game? And like,
yeah.
I mean, like, chess is obviously is so
Oh
customized. You see a chess set made of. I mean, I saw chess sets made of Oreos. before. So it's just, so and like different colors. So I mean, like you could make chess. You could really make chess out of anything
Yeah.
essentially, or like
Yeah.
any what I mean is like you can really have you can customize it to anything.
Theming. Yeah.
And we've seen every sort of chess set you could possibly do,
Yep.
but
Yep.
checkers, it's always just been black and red or like just circles. I don't
Yeah.
think I've
Yeah.
ever seen, and I think that was part of me was why what kind of spurred this on was and the fact that they actually the design of the characters they're it's hard to say they're cute because they're robot warriors, but
Yeah.
they have a bit of universality to them where like
Yeah.
you can kind of see that roundness to them, and the checkers shape just sort of is there.
Yeah.
And so it just sort of was a natural thing. Where it's like, oh well, they kind of look like checker pieces, so like
Mm-hmm.
maybe they kind of emerged from the checkerboard, and that's what would happen when a 3D printer would print. So like
Yeah.
it's like really sort of tying in 3D printing technology with board game mechanics and a sci-fi fantasy lore, and like kind of wrapping all of that into this package called Draughtnauts,
Yeah.
and
Gotcha.
sort of and bringing and wanting to kind of expose that and bring that to the rest of the community.
No, of course, yeah, I love that. I love that. I love immersion. I'm a big immersion guy.
Excuse me.
Those are my favorite type of board games, immersion games. I love Euros. Don't get me wrong, Euros are great. I have more Euros than I have Ameritrash games. But I love immersion. I love getting deep into the story. I love getting myself lost into these worlds, and I like what you're doing with checkers. Again, you're creating something that again like been around for so long that it's like all right, you know, you, I'm not going around going like, you want to play some checkers? You want to play some like it's like, it's kind of it's
And
gotten
the
boring. Go ahead.
the funny and the funny and that's actually the funny thing about like checkers is like it's been around so long, and actually the traditional name for checkers is drafts. So
Oh,
so that's how the whole if like that's probably one questions I get the most is why draft knots.
yeah.
And so I was like, well, checkers is called drafts. So these are the knots,
Wow.
the astronauts or whatever playing
Yeah.
drafts in this universe. So draft
Oh,
knots became because checkerbots doesn't really have the right ring to it. So
yeah.
draft knots was how that started anyway.
Yo, I did not know that. That is cool. Thank you for. Oh wow, yeah, that is what a play on words. That is awesome. That is really cool. Yeah, draft nuts. Okay, they
Thank
were
you.
called drafts. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I like your. Yeah, the
So
draft nuts
yeah,
are so good.
people are wondering why it's such a long name for a
Yeah,
game.
yeah, yeah.
There's like so many consonants in it, but it's like
Yeah, that is
um,
essentially just checkers. Yeah, no, draft nut. That's cool. And that's a great way to like, break in the ice and be like, why is it called draft? Like, well, checkers was called drafts, and so it's like a great play in words, and, and now you got them hooked. Like, oh, okay, let's get them in more into that world for sure. Again, I like the draft nuts too. They they look like they have like their heads are like look like little helmets or like little like safari hats. They look pretty cool, which I like, and they're very
yeah, we
customizable.
got
Yeah, there you go.
more here.
Oh, that one looks
This is
cool.
this is one of the newest ones. This is a little multicolored print, so they have the little crowns that come off.
Oh, so it's just very
So that's
easy
what I
to
mean. Like
put on.
all the parts are interchangeable, and as time grows, and as my understanding of the design expands, these things start becoming a lot more complicated with their color combinations and such, and so
Yeah.
and the weaponry. But yeah, they have this like little kind of like bulkiness to them.
Yeah, a little bulky. I like it because they're like these. They look like they're like heavy duty. They're getting into combat, and like you're in for like a big, grueling battle for sure with with your opponent and trying to win the champion for sure. As we're kind of rounding off the podcast here, I don't want to hold you up for too much longer here, John. I'd like to know maybe the future. What's something that you have in store for Draft Nuts? What's your next process that you'd like to go continue on? What would you like to see this growing as well? Obviously, you want to see it. You know, the dream would be like to have it in stores everywhere. For sure. That's the dream for like to have be mass produced and stuff like that. But as you say, you're a solopreneur. What would be your next steps that you'd like to continue moving on? What's something that you have in the works? And yeah, I'm very curious to hear what the future is for Draft Nuts for sure.
Yeah, so the game is sort of the main medium, but my hope is that this does grow into something more of a community thing. So it's over the next few months and over hopefully this year, I'm going to be doing a lot more outreach, doing a lot more. trying to get more play testing in my local community. I'm from New Jersey, so I'm starting off kind of like local, but and I have a couple people that I would like to work with to kind of like showcase these things, and I'm looking at going to some more events in the next year as the game goes, it starts growing. But besides that, I am writing the story to it. It's hard to say what it is. Is it novella? Is it a is it a serial release? It's
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
still in the works, but it's spined out, and I'm excited. It's I mean, so I'm deep in that world right now. So it's a lot of writing and a lot of kind of spurring that along. Um, I would like to work. I'm in talks with some people perhaps about a, a graphic medium, so perhaps maybe a comic book or something in that kind of world tying into that. So
Oh.
it goes. I mean, like I've been vibe coding, so I mean, who hasn't? But I mean, I've been making apps. I'm like, oh, Draughtnauts the game. Like, of course. Why is that not a video game? So
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's sort of seems silly. Like it's like there's so many things. Oh my god, it could fit anywhere. So I've been in this playground really in my mind. Like, oh, I could do all these things. So I'm really trying to bring it like kind of get everything together into like what actually is the best platform for all this stuff because
Of
as the
course.
world, I mean, like I have a Ko-fi page, so I'm trying to figure out how to work some of these elements in the shop. I sell everything on Etsy, so it's straight through there. But most of my work, it's just making content on Instagram and just feeling out the whole creative process. Really, is like where does this go? Because
Yeah.
I'm not trying. I'm lucky enough to not be needing this to, you know, fund my life or whatever. So I'm really kind of just I can be at my own pace, get this stuff out there as I would like to is and so you're it really is able to give the sort of the everybody the best thing possible because
Yeah.
I as I'm learning it along with everybody else. So like this the building that community and to getting to a point where it's sort of it's its own machine and
Yeah.
like I can't say I'm looking to make the next Warhammer or the next
Yeah.
any the next anything.
Yeah.
It's just like um I think this is the time where people can just put themselves out there, just make it. I think that's probably the best advice I could give anybody is just like just create, make something, put it out there. If it sucks, whatever. But
Yeah.
it's fun to do, and the response so far has been fantastic. So
Yeah.
it's only making it's only growing. So
Hmm.
if it's slow or fast, I don't know, but it's growing, and I
You're
can
still
see that
going up.
you
Yeah.
know everything that I is something worth trying to do. So if it's going to be the story, if it's going to be pushing the game more, getting more designs, just getting the eyeballs and earballs on it.
Yeah, for sure, John. Thank you so much for sharing that. I am hooked, man. Like from what you explained and looking at your stuff, I'm very hooked. I want to get myself a copy. I'll probably be browsing your Etsy store, hitting you up, and get myself a copy there. Uh, would love a signed, a little anything signed from you for there. If I order from you, I'd love for you to sign it to
Well,
say like I got the
we'll
creator.
talk after
Yeah.
the episode.
Yes.
I get you a custom champion.
Oh yes, let's go. I would love that. I would definitely love that. Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm very hooked. You're making me love checkers all over again now, and I love your passion for this. It shows. I think it's gonna shine and it's gonna grow. I have a good feeling about this. It's good, and I'd love to share with anyone that's watching or listening to my loyal 3 followers that like to listen to the podcast here. Anyone
Well,
that's
you
listening.
got one more now
Yeah,
with my followers.
let's go, John. There we go.
Hey followers, come on,
Yeah,
hop on
yeah.
board.
Let's grow. Let's grow this community bigger. Let's get it bigger for sure.
I appreciate what you're doing, and I
Oh, of
appreciate
course.
the opportunity. And great stuff, great work, and it's
Appreciate it.
fun. It's fun to be doing this kind of stuff.
No, appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining. I mean, yeah, I said if I can give a voice to anyone that wants to share the stuff, please come on board. I want to hear your stories. I mainly do it so I can hear stories because I love talking to people. I love getting to know people and their creative stories and stuff. One of the main reasons why I created, this podcast. And I love board games. I love board games all the time. But I mostly love talking to people. I love getting to know people, getting to hear their stories. And so I just want to say thank you so much. I know you got a busy schedule. You got a lot of things wrapping up for Draughtnauts and stuff. So I'm very excited to see your progress, and see it grow. And just know that you have me back in your corner, man. I'm cheering you on. You got it going on.
Thank you.
Before we close the podcast, I'd love to leave any links, anything that you want us to follow, anything else that you want us to support you in. Please let us know. If you want to give you the floor there to leave any links where we can find you, where we can support you. Again, in the description, I'll leave the links below to anything that you want us to leave, and then we'll close off after that for sure.
Yeah. So at Lazart Studios is on Instagram, and like the shop on Etsy. And if you want to sign up on my link tree, you go to link in bio. The link tree has got everything on there. Like, follow along, and this is only beginning. I've been around for a year so far, so it's only growing. So the support has been fantastic. Hit up those likes, hit up the follows, and stay naughty.
Yeah, there you go, guys. Please, please, please. Again, I'm leaving links below. Please follow John and his journey. He's doing great. You heard here. If you made it this far, you've heard his passion, his love for this. It's just growing. Like I said, he's just going up from here. And what better way to just join his team and get up on there and support him all the way. Check out his Draughtnauts. Check it out. Order you some champions, because I think they're awesome. You get to customize them. What better way? You get to customize your own thing, and you don't have to break your wallet buying like Warhammer armies. You can just buy yourself some Draughtnauts. There you go. And so nothing wrong with Warhammer. I love Warhammer. It's cool. But it could be a little chunky in the wallet. But go ahead, follow John. Follow his story. Give it a check it out. If this is something that's interesting you. Again, he's got the Etsy shop up there for him. He's growing. It's going to be great. I'm excited for the future, man. I can't wait. I would love to have you back on the pod again more, so we can chat more updates, or just chat.
Absolutely.
Just chat video games, man. We got to have that video game talk with you, man. We can.
That's what I mean. We can have pods.
Yes,
there
you go.
Pods.
We have lots of episodes to go through for sure. So this is not the last time you're going to see John, guys. You're going to see him back here. I'm very curious. We're going to keep in touch for sure. We're on Instagram, so we can message each other for there as well. But please give him a follow, guys. And after you're done following him, if you guys like the content that you've heard here, you can give us a follow. We're all on all socials. We're on X, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever you like to watch or listen podcasts. You can find us at GamesYouMustPod. That is at GamesYouMustPod. Or if you want to send us an email, you can send us an email at GamesYouMustPod@gmail.com. That is GamesYouMustPod@gmail.com. Let us know if there's anything you want us to review, anything else you want us to go, or if you're a creator yourself as well, like John is here. Come on board the podcast. Let's chat. Let's share your creative design here. I'm very curious to know a lot about multiple people that want to create their games. I want to hear you guys' stories for sure. So send us a message on our socials there at Games You Must Pod. Love to get in chat with you guys. Thank you guys so much for listening. John, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I'm very humbled. I know you're a busy man, but thank you for taking the time to share your story and share about Draughtnauts. Very curious. We'll talk more offline about getting my hands on one of these Draughtnauts for sure. Love to support you here. Yes, very, very excited here. Thank you so much, John, for joining us here. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Y nos vemos. Para la próxima.